Good morning. Thanks for
Morning.
doing this video with me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So you work as a nurse, right?
That's correct.
Can you tell me about that and how it impacts our community?
Yes. I've been a nurse for going on 16 years. Decided to go back to nursing after my youngest son went to school, when he went to, full-time school. So I started my career a little bit later in life than a lot of people. Just decided that I wanted to be able to help people the way that I was helped. When I was pregnant with my son, I had some health issues related to my pregnancy. And it was actually a nursing assistant. Her name was Francina. That was so amazing to me when I was in the hospital. And after my son was born and he was fine and everything was done, I said, I really want to be able to do that for someone else. So that's why I decided to become a nurse. I love my job. I love being able to help people. I love being able to help the families of the patients when they're, struggling also with their family member being in the hospital. It's such a stressful time for patients and families. And, a lot of people, if you're not in healthcare, you don't really know how to navigate the healthcare system in our country. It's very cumbersome and difficult to know all the parts to the healthcare system when you're trying to go through that on top of being sick. So that's what I enjoy being able to do for other people. Working in a small hospital, a small community hospital, I enjoy because, you know a lot of people that come in there already because they're people that live in your community. Their families. So you're able to really interact with them on a personal level, since you already kind of know them and know their family, and you might even know their situation when they show up at the hospital.
Wow, that's a really powerful story about why you became a nurse, and that just shows that you're really passionate about what you do and you're really making a difference with our community. Do you think you can give better care when you know the families already when they come in?
To me, that's not, I don't think so. I think that, like, for me, when I leave, when I get in my car every night to go to work, and I've done this from the very beginning, even when I was a new nurse and nervous every day that I got in the car to go to work. Thank goodness, after about the first year, that kind of goes away and you kind of get into your groove about, your career. I try to remind myself that I want to treat each patient just like I would want someone to treat my mother, my grandmother, my child if they showed up at the hospital. So I just kind of give myself a little pep talk when I get in the car to go to work every night, that's how I want to treat people.
That's powerful.
Thanks.
Wow, what an awesome perspective to have when you're going into work every night. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure that I always remember, the human aspect of the person that I'm taking care of, not just, their condition. I want to make sure that I'm always focusing on them as a person, not on whatever's going on medically with them.
That's really important. Yeah. And you also work with the Lancaster County Democratic Party, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Can you tell me about the work you do there?
Yeah, well, I'm new to that. I'm actually new to politics in general. I just got involved in politics when Pete Buttigieg decided to run for president. That was my intro into politics. And I started out campaigning for him and volunteering for his campaign, and got involved in a national grassroots organization called the Barnstormers. It was originally Barnstormers for Pete, and now it's kind of transitioned, and it's now the Barnstormers for America. And so after my campaigning for Pete and traveling to all the swing states and campaigning for him in each state before the primary, I was contacted by the Democratic Party in Lancaster and asked to, participate with them. So I have joined there, and I'm a precinct captain in Kershaw, our precinct president, I guess is what they call it there, that here in Lancaster County. So it's new to me. I'm still kind of getting my feet wet and learning how the party operates. It's been a little bit difficult and different with COVID, because I had been to maybe 2 meetings in person before COVID, and so everything then was on Zoom. So it's a little bit difficult to navigate when you aren't meeting people, firsthand, and having that time to like talk after the meeting or before the meeting and get to know people. So you're kind of trying to learn and how things navigate through just a Zoom meeting. And it's a little more, I think it's a little more difficult, but we're managing. I think I'm trying to figure out my place.
Well, I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That sounds like an awesome opportunity to get to travel to the swing states and do it that way.
Yes, it was quite eye-opening for me. Like I said, since I had never been involved in politics before, my first trip was the LJ in Iowa, which, the huge dinner where all the candidates come and speak. So that was quite the experience. It was like nothing I had ever been involved in. It was just overwhelming to see the amount of people that showed up in Iowa for that event. The amount of, people just lined the streets, and, all the streets were lined with people supporting their candidate, singing, dancing out there with signs, yelling. It was overwhelming. And then the LJ dinner was just for me, I guess I feel like it was a once in a lifetime experience, but I hope that I'll get to go back again.
Sounds like it was a lot of fun.
It was. I learned to knock doors in other states besides South Carolina. So I had never canvassed before. I had never made phone calls for a candidate. So I learned to canvass in Nevada and New Hampshire. So that it was pretty good education too, and especially in Iowa, because they're so used to it, with the LJ, all the people showing up for the political event and people knocking on doors, since they're the first state for primaries. So it was a good education, because in South Carolina, it's a little more difficult when you show up at doors and you don't really know what you're going to get, being such a red state that we are. So it was good training.
Wow. And you have also done work with the campaigns in swing states like Georgia. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. So we, going into the to the Senate races, especially after Georgia and the initial race, and then they had the runoff election. We all knew that if we didn't get those 2 seats, that we were not going to have the very small majority in the Senate, and that was going to impact if Biden was going to be able to get his agenda passed and the things that we as Democrats feel are important. And so I decided that I would work with the barn, and that was through my Barnstormer grassroots organization also. Work with them to encourage voters in Georgia to show up for the runoff election, because runoffs typically have less people show up to vote than the general election. So we embarked upon a campaign to send thousands upon thousands of postcards to Georgia voters. So between, I think it was, I'm trying to remember exactly, between my postcards from there, and then I also worked with 2 other organizations called Postcards to Swing States, and vote forward. There are also organizations that do postcards and letter writing campaigns to swing states, and I worked with them during the general and the runoff election. I can't even remember how many postcards and letters I did. It was in the thousands, and we would have get-togethers on the weekends, and we would like Zoom in, and we would all write postcards together. So it's kind of entertaining, and have music, and it keeps you going and everything. So I approached this Lancaster County Democratic Party and asked if they would be interested in participating, because I just thought people like to do something hands-on. We can't go out and knock doors. We can't, we can make phone calls, but people like to actually do something when they're involved in politics. So I approached them and just to see if they would like to participate, and they were all in for doing that. And so we were able to send, I think it was 500 just from our county to Georgia. And so all our letter writing paid off, and Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff got elected. So, and we were able to get the American Rescue Plan through the House and Senate. So most Americans are getting $1,400, just like they promised they would.
That's really awesome. And I wrote some of those postcards, and I enjoyed the opportunity to feel like I was making a difference as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Well,
you're really making a positive difference in our community with your nursing and your involvement in politics. And I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I have one more question, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
What advice would you give to another woman or anyone who wants to make a positive difference in their community?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just taking the first step to get involved. You have to find the thing that speaks to you. Like I said, I never knew for me it was going to be politics. That was so far off my radar. And then when Pete Buttigieg decided to run, and I had researched him and got involved with him, his campaign spoke to me. His rules of the road that included belonging and joy just really spoke to me. And I was able to transition that into, what I believe and what I think is important for our country. You have to find that thing, and then you have to figure out a way to get involved. And that's difficult because, if you don't know the resources or where you fit best, but you just have to try to find your tribe, and they will lead you, just like I did with, my Barnstormer group, and then with the Lancaster County Democratic Party. You just have to find your people, and once you find your people, they will help you find the resources where you can best fit to help your community.
That's awesome advice. And thank you again for all that you do. And thank you for talking to me today. I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.